All right. So somebody asked if I could maybe tackle how to handle landscapes. So I just I came to the choice that I was going to do something like something simple. I was thinking maybe something with simple shapes, like maybe a Japanese garden. Some pretty cool stuff. I like a lot of the shapes. I like a lot of the colors. It's very easy on the eyes. Looks nice. And there's lots of reference for it. So I got a bunch of reference together. This one's pretty nice. I like all the very Bali shapes. All those round bushes. That's pretty nice. I like a lot of the simple, like there's the things that stand out to me. There's bushes. There's a lot of that, the stone stuff. And there's water. I like the water gardens, the garden ponds. Only thing about the water here is this water looks kind of very silty. Not the nicest water conditions. This one's nice. This one's pretty nice and reflective. I like the koi in the pond. That's pretty nice. These koi gardens. Like those lily pads. Like seeing the way the stems come up through the water. Something very nice there. Yeah, I think I like, the water looks kind of unusual in here. I like that greenish tint. I like the algae covered rocks in there, as well as the kind of, there's an obvious like pond bed as well. I like that. The sky looks really blue in the reflection, and I picked that up. So I'm just saying, when you're looking up reference, find things that catch your eye and bring them together. So, all right. I'm just going to grab this one image. We're going to throw that up onto my other monitor. Oh, no, autosave, leave me alone. I'm not saving any of this. I don't intend on saving anything. All right. Here we go. So, first step is I want to get a wireframe of all this. I want to get a topo. We're trying to get topology. So I suppose, we're probably going to have a big wide open planar expanse. So some area where there's going to be a big flat area where there will be water. So some kind of water plane. And what else do I want to have on this thing? I mean, I like how they have this little island here, and there's a bunch of rocks. So it's like, oh, they have an island. I want to have an island. Okay, fine. So I'm gonna make some sort of island, and maybe I need to shape, the water. So let's see where the water's gonna run. So I got to kind of shape this waterway. Yeah. All right. So something kind of like this. I'm not going to try and draw exactly what they have, because there's no point in that, because no one sees the original, and there's no merit to drawing things exactly the way they have. But I am using their picture. I'm using the original picture for some idea. Okay, and I kind of like how they have a bunch of a pathway of rocks. So boop boop, and maybe I should like. Two rocks? Well, 2 rocks or 3? I mean, 3 good things, nice things, good things come in 3s, right? 3 good. 3 very good. Okay. And then I guess we have our little island over here. Sure. And they have that little kind of stone pagoda thing on the doodad. So it's probably going to be, I don't know. I'm just figuring out how big I want it. Yeah. That'll do. Maybe I'll have some of it like cut off, which is fine. We'll give it its little hat. Boop. Boop. Okay, so it roughly takes up this amount of space. I'm being pretty careless. Right? That little stone pagoda with a hat on top. Okay, so that does pretty well for some of the foreground elements. Okay. Let's see what I'm gonna throw on the back. I mean, I like how they have this kind of a terraced look. So, all right, let's do that. And you know, it's kind of hard to see what kind of landscaping or what we can't really see the lay of the land behind all of these bushes. They're really covering it up. So I'm just gonna say, well, it follows some kind of slope. And I guess maybe there's like the top of a hill is up here, or maybe it kind of curves around. Yeah, let's go for something that's kind of cool. We'll go for something that curves. We'll curve it. And I know that I'm drawing like a portrait composition while that's a landscape. They're using a landscape composition. I'm using portrait. I didn't think about that, but you know what? I'm going to work with it. I'm going to work with our portrait composition. I'll make a composition that looks good as a portrait, as opposed to one where if you were to take a photograph, you would want to turn the camera sideways because it looks better that way. So, all right. Okay, so I'm kind of raising this up as kind of a high wall. And I'm curving it around. In fact, we can't see any of the sky in there, so I guess in our case we'll actually have a little bit of sky. And yeah, let's just mush things around. I don't have a plan. We're gonna make adjustments as we go along. And no, it won't turn out as good as something that's completely premeditated, but I like to teach people how to steer. I don't want to steer everything at the beginning. We won't. I don't know what I want until I see it. So, okay. So now that I have that, I'm going to knock it all back because I need to properly shape things. Boop, boop. I'm literally just looking back and forth at the reference on my other monitor. Boop, boop. And it seems to have facets on it. So boink, boink, boink. Oof. This one goes up like that. The other side has to go up kind of like that. And then it goes burp like that. And then we have a stack. Yeah, it's kind of stacked up a bit like a poop emoji. Oh, right. And then it has like a narrow stalk in the middle. So I'll draw the top of the stalk and then I'll bridge, right? Bridge that. All right. What I don't try to do is I don't try to go, oh, because, sometimes it's like it won't be symmetrical. So anytime you need something that needs to be symmetrical and has like a definite shape to it, you draw a few like crucial bits and then you bridge them because it'll be more accurate. All right. And then we have this kind of a weird, I think it's about, it's maybe about this tall. Okay. I don't know why it has those little grills. Look at this thing. It's got these weird little, I don't know, why does it have grills? Maybe they have like a little mosquito coil in the middle of that thing. Like anytime you've got a watery environment, man, that place is probably a breeding ground for mosquitoes. But if you have koi in the pond, I suppose the koi will probably just make a meal out of all that. So yeah, that's probably the case. They got like a bunch of fish in there to eat up the mosquitoes. But that water's looking kind of murky, so I don't know. I don't know if fish are okay with that. Okay, so a little trick, right? When you look at this thing, you're going to see, oh, there's these like little stair-steppy things, and there's all these. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I know it's an incline. Just simplify, right? To simplify just means don't get all caught up in the little details just yet. You can simplify, and then you can go and you can stair-step it up later. That's fine. Just trying to keep this thing, kind of symmetrical. And it seems to have kind of a squarey shape to it. So I'm just going to draw some squarey and I'll round it off later. Yeah, it's got a very squared off base. Oh, oh, oh. And it may have like some very like artistic, very nice artistic swooshy curvature. Don't get confused by it. Just square it off, keep it angular for now. Then you can worry about it later. Okay, so there's kind of like, if we look at this part here, there's kind of it kind of goes straight down, and then there's a major bend. So I'm just going to find, where's the level of that major bend, which is around here, right? And then I'm going to, well, we'll find the middle part. So the middle part kind of dips down here. And I suppose, how far down does it dips to about this level? It goes up by about that much. Boink. Okay, so I can just go boink, boink. Right, it's very angular. I know. You're going to be like, no, but it needs to be curved, and I'm like, no. It goes into the square hole. Everything goes into the square hole. I mean, now that I have this, right, I can easily go in there and I can round it off. But I just say angles are easier to draw because you have these sharp corners, and it's easier to judge based off of angles and sharp corners. Curves are really, really tricky. So if you're trying to get accuracy in your curves, draw them as angles first. Ooh, I need to turn off. Yeah, it's I have my my brush pressure turned off just because I don't want to be all loosey goosey. Oh, the middle's around here. You can like break it down into little line segments, right? The overall effect is still a curve, so it's fine. You can do that. It's I'm having difficulty deciphering that shape. I can tell that little middle part there is the same thing as that little point there. But you know what? I just got to make it look good in mind. I don't have to copy exactly what I see in that picture. It's completely pointless to copy it. I just need to make sure that mine looks correct, because I drew mine at a slightly different perspective. So if I tried to copy exactly what they did, it would be wrong on my picture. I just need it to look, correct. Yeah, I'm using a fair amount of line stabilization when I do this. Really, I don't even need to be this accurate, because when I paint over it, there's probably going to be some corrections to be made. Okay, so there's straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line. What I'm drawing is I'm drawing like these straight lines. That one, that one, that one. And then somewhere in the middle, it goes up like that. Yeah, they can be curves, but this is easier. All right, how many stair steps we got? We got like three stair steps. By 3 stair steps, I mean there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. 3 stair steps. So I guess we'll have a middle one here. I'll draw the middle one and then I'll bridge. Anytime you have like a lot of, little details and whatnot, I say draw the middle one, then bridge. So we draw the middle one, then we bridge. Helps with keeping things look, even-ish. Right? Whereas if you start here, it's a little tricky. Finding the middle and then bridging tends to get me better results. There we go. I mean, I know I said we were going to be doing landscapes. Here I am making one of those weird little concrete pagodas, but I mean, really, in truth, landscape is basically everything that's not a person, everything that's not some character, everything that's not some vehicle. Like sometimes you may have vehicles in landscapes, and it's like when you're drawing environment, it's basically everything else. Because most people that get into drawing are like, oh, I like to draw the cool cartoon characters. I want to draw cool, I need to draw my Japanese waifus and whatnot. So I understand it. Like that stuff's, that's what everybody likes to see. Most people don't go and think, oh, what a pretty environment. Environments are for artists that, that are like artists that have tried to draw environments and are like, holy shit, this stuff is hard. Oh my God. It's like being able to draw an environment is like an artistic flex. It's like really, that's the really difficult thing is what happens, right? It's like, I mean, drawing characters is still pretty difficult, but once you're drawing environments, it's like, oh crap, there's all these things that I have to observe and study. And there's so many things that I could possibly learn. And there's all these materials and my goodness. And then it's like, it's also kind of like an unsung, like environment artists are like unsung heroes. They're like, same thing with effects artists, right? It's like people bust their butts on that kind of stuff and the audience doesn't notice. So amongst artists, that's probably why like a lot of artists kind of respect the grind when it comes to doing environments, at least after you've been at this for a while. Oh yeah, there's this kind of a wibbly thing. Like, I'm tempted to zoom in and really understand it. Okay, let's zoom in and understand it. What the heck are we looking at? Oh, it's like toothpaste. It's like, or like icing. And there's like, okay, I get it. All right. Yeah, I don't really want to draw that toothpaste icing on something at this scale because it's like, it is really fine detail that I just don't think it's a good idea to draw it because it'll be a detail that no one will notice when you zoom in, and it may devolve into something unreadable at a distance. Like, I am purposely going to leave that out. And here I am drawing these little things, these little toothy things. I mean, I can draw maybe a little suggestion of it. These little boop. There's like 3 little bally things in the middle, followed by 2 little kind of tear shape. Right, but I don't want to go in there and draw every individual ridge. There's just no need. This, by the way, this like kind of cutout shape, that's literally just like the shadow. I'm just delineating the shadow. That's all. And then when I do hatching, I can hatch following the direction of this Yeah, I know we will eventually paint this thing, but doink, doink, doink. Kind of a stair step. Again, my smooth brain wants to copy. It doesn't want to understand. It just wants to copy. It just wants to copy the shapes that it sees. So you'll notice that like I'm kind of getting a 2-in-1 deal here whenever I draw shadows, because wherever it's shadowed, I use this as an opportunity to also draw like hatching that follows the surface form. So a lot of my lines and my shading is very informational in the sense that it kind of acts like a wireframe, and it gives a lot of 3D information, a lot of topological information. Like topology is the study of surface form. So have you ever seen like a topological, like a right? You ever seen a topological map, right? Like they have all these little wiggly lines, right? These wiggly lines tell you, oh, it's like a poop emoji, right? So, but that's what's happening. It's basically telling you, you know, what's the 3D surface form like? Because when you have that 3D surface form, it informs your lighting. It informs, like when you start rendering, you start painting. It kind of helps you understand which way the light's falling, and because the surface angle and the direction of the light will interact with one another, and it's vital. It's just, you know, very, very useful. That all kind of comes together. Okay. And then I can just all this, I guess, is falling in on. It's like light. It's a shadow on the water. That's one thing about murky water, is murky water acts a bit opaque, and you can have shadows on the water. Like you can visibly see the shadows casted on the water. I know there's all this like other stuff in the background, but my attention has been seized by this stone pagoda thing. All right. And so my smooth brain wants to render this thing. It really wants to render the dickens out of this. I'm not even rendering. I'm just like drawing detail. But and the thing is, I'm not saying you guys have to do it. You don't have to. It's just, I guess when it comes to my own personality as an artist, right? This is the thing that is unique to me, is my smooth brain gets like it sees little tiny detail and wants to get a little detail, and it wants to. That's what it wants to do. It gets fascinated by the little details and distracted by the little details, and it wants to just get in there and really render the fuck out of it, because I can't. Yeah, it's like a disorder almost. It's I could just tell. I'm literally getting sucked into it. That's me. That's this is what makes my art unique. It's not something that I do on purpose. It's not something where it's like, oh, I'm going to make this my style. It's like, no, this is something it is inherent to me. It is just the way I am, yo. I can't help it. I can't help myself. I just get sucked into the detail. And then I feel the need to render. Smooth Smooth brain. Ah, smooth brain. No have to think. Just render. Render, 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 render. Draw surface form. Easy. Ah, yes. Smooth brain get to be smooth. I'm literally just, I'm simply indulging. I'm just indulging this urge to just render, 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 render. Oh, detail. Oh, yes, little shadow. Oh, smooth brain like to do. Right. So, I mean, for the rest, like for everyone else, this might not be your thing, right? This kind of thing might be really just annoying to you. You might not like doing this, and that's okay. It just means that you're going to be spending your time doing something different in the drawing. That's all, right? It doesn't mean you're going to be necessarily paint. This is how I paint. It doesn't have to be the way you paint. Like, just because your technique and your process for painting doesn't match mine, that's fine. I mean, like that's because your own process for rendering is going to match, your way of doing things, and that's fine. Okay, but you know what? My smooth brain does not want to deal with those little grill things. It just says, it just looks at these things and it just says, fuck it. Fuck it. I don't want to do it. Actually, hang on. No, wait. I have an idea. And then we go in with a white brush. Ah, there we go. Same. And then we can go the other way. Haha. Same. There we are. Ah, hey, pretty good, eh? Feel very clever. Oh, yeah, I give myself a pat on the back. Ooh, me smart. Yes, smooth brain. Smooth brain, not so smooth. Okay, good. And then, aha. Yeah, I think these are maybe a little too dark. Eh. Not that anyone would really notice or care, but that's fine. I'm just gonna leave them the way they are. Oh wow, this is so lazy and uneven. Oh, that's okay. When you zoom out, it's like, yeah, it looks good. I can. Funny, it's like if I go in there and I draw like the solid line there, that really improves it. Like, yeah, I like that. Okay. Uh, yeah. Looks all right. That'll do. That's fine. All right. So we have one stone pagoda. All right. Like these stones are this one's kind of wibbly wobbly. The thing is, it's like if you chisel the shape a little bit, it'll look more stone-like. If you make it too smooth, then it starts to look more poop-like. So, you know, it's good to have a little bit of sharp edges and a little bit of soft edges on it. Oh yeah, it is starting to look a little poop-like. Gotta be careful. It's okay. I think when we paint it, it'll all shake. It'll all shake out. It'll be fine. I'll just tell myself that so that I don't get, you know. What we're talking about? Exactly, right? Don't want to get distracted. So sometimes being able to forget about things, being able to let go of things is kind of useful. Oh, I also see that there's like a little bit of a reflection. Boop, 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 boop. Right? We can draw in some of them reflections. Boop, 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 boop. Oh my goodness. I'm getting sucked in. I feel so calm I could fall asleep right now. It's so meditative. Right, just drawing that little thing of a thing. Okay. And there's like a little bit of moss. I'm just making the moss kind of like follow the shape of the surface. This is the thing about like drawing is because when you're drawing, you don't have to worry about switching colors or changing, you know, brush textures. You can just use the same little you can just use the same tool nonstop. And so it's so comforting to be like doing like when you're doing line art for environments, because you don't have to worry about, you know, this environment or that. You can literally just smooth brain and just worry about topology and maybe like just the most basic of lighting the whole time. So it's really, really, you know, it can be kind of meditative. And I just want to fall asleep. It's like I'm so comfortable, I want to fall asleep. I'm not bored. I'm just so comfortable, I feel sleepy. All right. Oh, there's like a kind of a continuation of that pathway going up there, which is pretty nice. I might not necessarily be able to fit it into my composition, but you know. I'm drawing like a little Bali, right? These things always look very Bali. I'm not even going to try and render all those little leaves. I'm just going to draw, you know, lots of Bali. Like drawing slimes. I guess, you know, maybe I'll have like a little bit of, you know, just to show that, hey, that thing is actually curving. There's like a, yeah. I'm just, my eyes are just like, I'm just looking at that. And I feel like I've hit a bit of a threshold. The threshold is kind of like, if your eyeballs are just passing over detail and you're not really comprehending, you know, that's something to be aware of. It means that now's probably a good time to take a break. So, computer, pause recording. All right, so let's continue. What I really should just make another layer for what's going on in the background. All right. Yeah, my smooth brain. I'm just going to let my smooth brain run for a little while. Let's turn that opacity down a bit. I literally can't even describe how it is that it's like slowing down to describe just gets in the way of the process. So my brain's basically gone all abstract mode with this. Yeah, all right, there we are. That actually looks pretty good. That was fast. That was very fast. So for things like the stone pagoda, you know, my brain is gonna want to go really slow and to analyze that thing because the forms are so unforgiving. I'm just cutting out all the stuff that's sitting in the background that overlaps the stone pagoda. And oh, maybe I'll okay. Yep. 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 Okay, and all that stuff has to be rendered somehow as well. Okay, so I'm just going to turn the opacity down on that for a bit. I'm going to throw in another layer. I'm going to turn the opacity on this layer down a bit. Okay, so everything's in shadow now. I'm just going to loosely pop out our sky. Have our light slice in. I'm just cutting out all the areas where I think light's going to hit. I think light will hit here. All those bally shapes. Boop, 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 boop. I don't have a real plan here. Gonna light up this area here where the stone pagoda is. So yeah, there's gonna be some light hitting here. Yeah, we can have some light hit here. Blurp, blurp, blurp. Light can hit here. This is like light planning, I suppose. I'm just trying to plan out, like I don't have any plan because I'm planning right now. Trying to think about, where are all the areas I want the light to maybe hit. Maybe I want some kind of sun shaft here. And I'm just gonna like mash things around until I'm satisfied. So yeah, I guess I'll have some light. Yeah, I'll have some light that hits behind this thing because it'll cut out the silhouette yeah, it'll make a nice silhouette. Okay. We can have some there, we can have some shadow that cuts in like that. We can have some light that's over here. And cut that out. Oops. You can kind of see how I'm trying to make this overlapping. There's like light and shadow and light and shadow and light and shadow. So if I have this whole thing, which is like, if I look at this big shape up here, I can shadow maybe some of the closer stuff, add, so it kind of looks like a rim light, right? All that shadow falls back. I'm trying to work back to front here. And then I can cut this shape out. Right, because these things poke up out of the shadow. Okay, and then I can start casting a few things back here into shadow again. And these things can come up in the light. What to do with this region? I'm going to just throw it all into shadow until I figure it out. Yeah, I can go into light. And then this area here is kind of all, who knows? So I'm just going to, if it's like too confusing, I'll just throw it back into shadow again. Part feels pretty good if I throw that side in light. But then this side feels really good if I throw this side, like if I throw the background in light. Isn't that kind of interesting, right? So you got light on one side, light on the foreground, and then that's like light on the background. It's kind of neat how that, like, yeah, that's. I like the way that's turning out. And then somewhere in between, I have to kind of work out the transition between the two. There's going to be shadow up here. It's going to be kind of rim lighted, right? So yeah, I just mean like these areas of lighting is going to be kind of rimmy, whereas over here the lighting's a little more full blast. So I can make a few rimmy-ish lights, and then I can have a bit of shadowing. I can have a little bit of light peeking out here, have a little bit of shadow peeking in there, right? So I'm just kind of mashing them in together, right? Just yeah, we can have something like that. These areas here can be lit. Blub, blub, blub. Blub, blub, blub. Like there's no point in me trying to really paint things and get into the color and all that if I don't know where the light's going, if I don't know what I'm lighting, if I don't, it's like there's too many unknowns at this moment, right? And I have to figure those things out before I can begin painting. I don't want to just jump into painting. I mean, I do. It's just, it's going to turn out poorly. I don't want to waste my time painting things that, I'm going to have to redo. I don't want to like invest a lot of effort into something that will just be undone. I hate wasting effort. So what I do is I'm doing a lot of like low quality throwaway test. Right? It's like if I'm gonna waste, quote unquote waste or throw away any effort, it's gonna be in experimentation. Low quality experimentation like this stuff here. Low quality doesn't mean it's bad experimentation. It just means I don't sit there and really, try to fuss and whittle those details out. There's no need for me to do that. And the other thing is that, like, I'm looking over at OBS. I'm looking at the little smaller preview, and I'm just using that to determine, like this is what I'm looking at. Like I'm using that kind of like a thumbnail image and trying to think, okay, well, what does this thing need? How can I change the lighting so that this will make more sense? Like, how can I make this black and white? It's almost like a comic book panel. How can I make this comic book panel? How can I light it in such a way that it's easier to understand? And are there any areas where, where it's confusing that I should clarify? Or are there areas where, simply put, the forms are wrong? And I'm looking for areas to correct. Like when you're first starting out and all you have is chaos, it gets hard to know what to do, what's right and what's not. But once you get a structure that begins to assert itself, once you've asserted a structure, then the things that play into that structure will become obvious to you. Or rather, I should say, the things that don't play into that structure will become obvious to you. And then, you'll be rearranging things so that they all structurally unify into that structure that begins to assert itself. So like I'm really beginning to you can see how this is like if we look at all those crescent shapes, all those rimmy lights, right? And then there's like these close shadows. Close shadows are kind of right. You can kind of see how that stuff is starting to the patterns are beginning to match up. All right. Yeah, and I guess I can probably start using a brush at this point to because like the highlights are starting to get kind of small, and using the cutout tool is a little suboptimal. Blah, blah, blah. And there's no need for me to be like super accurate at this point. Trying to zoom in and get pixel perfect. It's just a waste right at this stage because I'm still moving stuff around. Things are still unglued. And I'm literally just working with black and white right now. Like that's what it looks like if I if you need more gradation, then you don't need brush pressure. You just need to speckle in. We're still in the planning stages here. Bring that back up. Problem is here in this zone, there's like a lot of kind of inky black. A little hard to tell what the heck's going on. And maybe add a little bit of like that. It's like right now my brain wants to read something in there, but there's just nothing to read. So that's sort of like the sense I get where I know I need to put some sort of detail. And sometimes it's not black like it's not necessarily that it needs some more black lines of detail. Sometimes it needs some light lines. So you can see I'm adding like little bits of shrubbery and grass and just something so that the brain has something to grab onto so it knows what the hell that is. And right now the lighting is still very binary, very black or white. Doesn't know what to do with it. And then I'm going in with an airbrush, right? We're putting a little bit of reflected light. Doesn't take much. Yeah, looks. Just trying to open this up a bit, not make it not so binary. I need a big brush. All right, so we can get a little bit of haze. Ah. No. No. Okay, this brush is way too big. No, leave me alone, autosave. Oh, right, I gotta turn off my ball fall off. Yeah, there we are. Like a little bit of sun haze kind of helps that out. Okay. Let's I'm satisfied with all right, let's get some more get the other reference in there. I need to work on the water like really badly. I think I can close this piece of reference. There we go. Okay, right? I like the water in there. I think for a for like a sketch, that's adequate. Like a sketch to continue working on top of it with some, paint work. Okay, so I like this one for the water. I don't like it for the grass colors though. Like I don't like it so much for the vegetation colors. I like this one for the vegetation colors, to be honest. One seems to have richer greens and okay, well, whatever. Yeah, let's get to it. Well, how am I going to do this? I don't have a plan. I really don't. I'm just sitting. I'm just working on a layer on top, and somewhat may. We'll see how it goes. Oh right, I don't want any of that brush pressure crap. I just want to go bam, 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 bam. Bam, bam. Like that. That looks kind of nice. Like a few of those hits of yellows and the green, and it's like, I like it. Okay, yeah, that works. And throw in a little bit of abstract-y blib blob, blib 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 blob. Yeah, that looks kind of good. Funny how that is. I put away this picture, and in the end, I think I still like the coloration of it. I like, yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll keep it. You get to stay, fine. I know I can go in there and I can turn off my autosave, but I kind of don't want to. Blip, 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 blip. So here's another skill that I think is extremely useful for people to have, and that is like color picking. So you can train your color picking by like you can look at any color on the image, right? Like for instance, what about that super duper red? Right? What is that super duper red? I think it's like maybe around here. Probably that, like deep salmon pink red. Pretty fucking close. Good enough. Right. How about, let's see. How about that color right there? That stony kind of bluish-ish gray color. Or maybe let's pick us an even smaller area. Okay, right there where it's like the color's gone all flat. Right? What color is that? This kind of bluish. Maybe around here. Pretty fucking close, man. Pretty fucking close. So I mean, this is what this is what I do is when I pick colors, like I look at my color palette and I do a lot of this color matching. Like I've done it enough times that my brain's gotten pretty good at it. It's a skill you got to build up. And yeah, it's like when I'm working from photographs or if I'm working from CGI references, like I'll look up. Yeah, like here's the thing you can do. You can go on like Google Images. You can literally go to like, we can look up a stone CGI material. Boom, right? And you get like, look at all these different, maybe like Substance. If you look up like a Substance designer, PBR, right? Like, boom. Look at all this training data, right? I know, like as much as the internet has, as much as like things like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney and the fucking Lion 5B data set have come around and they're training AIs. Like, this is kind of, you know, well, if they can do it, well, we can fucking do it. If they can do it, we can do it, right? We can study other, you know, materials. Except the difference is that you're going to be scrolling through this stuff and you're going to be like, oh, I like that one. Oh, I like that one, right? Like it's a little bit more personal selection. So you can find a reference and then you know, grab a copy of that, right? You can grab a copy of that and you can throw it in your image software and, you know, study the colors that you see off of it. Right? It's like, oh, I kind of like that mossiness. If you're trying to get that, you know, video, this is very video gamey. Oh, it's so video gamey. Very vibrant, very eye candy. I know. It's like this, the search terms are literally are like prompts. Like, well, they can do it, well, then we can do it too. Now, mind you, I like, you know, the photograph because the photograph is a unified lighting situation. But, you know, if you're trying to learn how to paint stone, you're trying to paint wood, or you're trying to paint like any of these materials, then, you know, my recommendation is, or at least maybe not recommendation, but the thing that I personally do is I go and I look up PBR materials. I've been doing this even before there was Midjourney and all that shit. Before the AI sludge takeover. And that's how I would study a material. Oof, too bright. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop. And like you see the way that I'm hatching, right? It's pretty much the same way that, like the way that I'm painting in these colors is the same way that I would handle drawing. It's, you're literally just drawing with color. Up, 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 up. Up, up, up. Except, you know, in smaller patches and fragments. There's a lot of deep shadow around this bush. Up, 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 up. So I'm going to just... Up, 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 up. Oh yeah, the bottom of the bush is really like thrown into shadow. And then, you know, you don't have to go back and forth between the color palette and your painting if you need like color blending. You don't have to go in there and start putting in brush blending and using brush pressure. I just say use a smaller brush, like just shrink your brush down, use the same color, and then scratch it in. Right? I call it's scratch blending. You can do scratch blending, and the cool thing about scratch blending is it well, I'm not saying, well, it helps avoid the muddy colors problem. Muddy colors happen when you just blend and mash two colors together. Whereas if you do scratch coloring, then you get more texture out of it. Colors don't just, you know, mash together into an average and become, you know, some kind of sludge. And the other thing about scratch blending is it encourages you to draw in the direction of the surface form. or rather, I should say, I encourage you to do your scratch blending in such a way that it follows the surface form. Then it becomes more informational and easier to understand, easier to read. I can draw on the reflection now, right? I can draw on the reflection of those rocks. And you'll see like how when I did that scratch blend, right? Like I had like I'm doing something like this, right? Here I'll draw it in really bright colors, right? Like I went boop 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 boop, boop, right? Like I did a tangential lighting shift. So when you do your scratch blending, you can do stuff like that. I can draw in a little bit of rimmy light. And you can go, your scratches can even be small like this. They can be like little pieces. Looks very, yeah, looks kind of Ghibli, yo. I like it. I like it. Damn. I know I've only worked on like a little teeny piece, but it's like, oh, that's a very nice teeny little piece. Very satisfying. Very satisfying when you're painting, and if you can get like a nice little teeny piece to be satisfied, like very satisfying, then it gives you it raises your morale a little bit, and you're like, oh hey, you know, maybe this painting won't be ass after all. It'll actually be kind of good. It's got some potential, yo. Do that. Let's continue. Let's get more of that. Like I know I make all these weird little sound effects, but that's because it's fun. I'm genuinely having some fun with this. We need to get like that crevice shadow really in there. Got to get some of that, reflection. I guess it kind of looks like this. Yeah. Right? It's like we look at the painting. Oh, we got like that little reflection. There's like that. Oh, there's another reflection. It's kind of you can see how it's like dark here and it gets lighter there because it's showing like it's showing the tangent of the rock surface. Sorry, when I say the tangent of the rock surface is like here. We look at this little guy, right? He's a character from Sumiko Garashi. Right. It's like he's got this curved surface, and then right towards the edge, right, like the surface form, the surface form kind of bends away in a tangent. Like this is the surface tangent, so I'm just saying the surface tangent curls away from us. So if we look at this, at this rock, right, this round rock towards the edges, that's where the surface tangent curves away from us. We see that light. So if we look down here in this reflection, we can kind of see, oh, it's like that surface tangent's like curving away from us. Part here is turning towards the sky and it turns light. We can really see it on these rocks over here and those rocks. And we even see like the bush, right? The bush is a bali, right? And the bali starts to curve away from us. Oh, look, there's that bright surface tangent right there on that edge. It's turning lighter. So when we do, like when I go in there and I start going up, right, and drawing the surface like there, I'm drawing that highlight of the surface tangent right there. And I'm also making it kind of a little, oh, we can do better than that. We can do better. We can rebuild him better than he was before. Stronger, faster. And I can grab that color and I can kind of shape it so that it kind of fits the water ripples just a little. Oh, yeah. Okay, I stretch it a little too much. No. Yeah, and then we can take some of that darker gray, and we can do the same for the black stuff, right? We can kind of like I was being a little arbitrary with how these things were shaped. Now I'm like, no, let's shape them according to the water ripples. Like, ooh. We can take a little bit of this, and we can, you know, speckle in a little bit of that. Right. So I mean, these are kind of a big shape, but then I can kind of break in a speckle. Right. So they can break. I can take some of the dark shape, and I can bust into that. Yeah. So this is the thing about like when you're doing details, right? Most people are like, oh, I gotta get in there and I had to do this and that, and it's a pain in the ass, and I want to smooth brain it, right? But I'm like, at the same time, you know, when you really start to understand what it is that you're looking at, and you really start to bust into the detail of it, and it's like, oh, it looks good. I can actually understand this reflection, right? Then that in of itself can be a lot of fun. You can have a lot of play there, and like, look, as much as we want to be throwing skill at this thing, it's like, oh yeah, it's a flex. Drawing's a flex. Look how much skill I have. Look how much I can deal with this mind-numbing fucking detail. It's like, you know, I can only handle so much of that before I really need a break, right? But if you're having fun with understanding the detail, and like you're nerding out over the detail, and then it actually helps you paint. You'll paint better. You'll paint for longer. Your sessions will last longer, and you'll enjoy painting a lot more, right? So I mean, I know that a lot of people are like really terrified over, you know, things like Midjourney and the AI crap, the AI sludge. But there's one thing I can tell you about the AI sludge is that it's not fun. It's not fun to work with the thing. You're sitting there and you're prompting the thing, and it's like you're trying to get it to draw everything exactly the way you want, and the boobs just aren't big enough, and the thing is kind of like making some busted hands, and you're having to sit there and you're waiting for the fucking thing to render. It's like, it's not fun. I can't, you know, it's like, you'll be happy if the result came out, you know, the way you wanted to. Well, then you're like, well, I guess I got lucky. I finally managed to, you know, beat the thing up enough until my results came out the way I wanted. But one thing I can say about drawing is that there is the potential for you to actually have fun while you paint, because you're understanding things, and then it becomes a skill that you can use later. I will say though, this part is kind of time consuming, very, very, very time consuming, extraordinarily time consuming. Oh, but I love to look at it. It's like every inch of this drawing, I can have fun with it. And then what I'd say is, you know, you don't have to go and start painting areas that, if you're not sure about how to handle an area and you're just feeling kind of indifferent, then just, you know, look around, find something that's like, what, you know, that bush looks pretty awesome. That bush is different. One of these things is not like, you can go and paint that fucking different bush, or you can, you know, something about my eye is like jumping to some of these colors, right? Like when you paint, if you want, you can leave things as black and white in this sketch, and then you can move off and be, oh, look, a squirrel. Oh, look, a butterfly. You can be distracted and go and paint the things that are interesting to you, and leave the rest of it alone, because those other things, they weren't interesting to begin with. So there's no need for you to go and shit attention over things that don't even interest you. There's nothing that says you have to be a scanline renderer that goes from top to bottom, a pixel line at a time. All right. You can literally just paint the things that are interesting to you, and paint those and pour your effort. You know, you can pull out all the stops, and you can fucking limit break on those things. But if it doesn't interest you, you leave it alone. You know, like there's nothing that says you have to completely finish rendering this image. Like, yeah, I'm going to kind of, you know, bust up the shape of this thing a little bit. And I feel like there's some areas that need to be a little lighter. That's better. Boop, 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 boop. And then there's like, oh, there's like a really dark. No, leave me alone, autosave. There's like a really dark edge on, freaking boom, 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 boom. All right, so I've drawn in that really dark edge. Ooh, that's way too saturated. Up, 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 up. No, that's way too saturated. There we are. And that's another thing, right? It's like this is where, I guess if you were kind of like a little bit, if you're lacking in your 3D draftsmanship skills, yeah, it's trying to save all three of these fucking reference images. If you're lacking in any of your draftsmanship skills, and you'll see how I use a lot of those skills while I'm painting, right? It's like, yeah, you can delay and you can procrastinate on working on those skills, and that's fine. It's just that about now is probably the time where you're like, oh man, I wish my draftsmanship. If you're feeling like you wish your draftsmanship skills are kind of lacking and they're holding you back, and maybe that they would help you, then that's great. You've actually found a reason to go and practice, right? Like, don't practice things when you like because you should, because the books tell you that you should, or because Mark told you to do it. It's like, I just say, look, that's fine. You go ahead and learn things when you feel that it's important enough that it will actually help you, because then it will sink in better. And if you want to take some time to study that stuff, like, hey, I'm proud of you, man. Because great, you found a use for all that stuff. Then you're not just doing an exercise because the textbook told you to do it. Because this is the first thing, it's a prerequisite, and blah 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 blah. It's like that is a horrible feeling to have. This rock needs to be I need more shading. Feeling a little too flat. Feeling a little too bright too. Yeah, I need to turn that down a little bit. In fact, what I can do is I can just take this color and I'll turn I'll turn on my I'll turn on my brush pressure, and I'll use this just to I still need to turn it down a little bit. No, leave me alone, autosave. I know I can go into the right. You see how I'm just taking the volume of that. I've got my hand on the volume knob, and I'm just like, we'll just turn you down a little bit. Boop, 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 boop. It's like every rock, right? Like, this is compositing, right? It's not composition; it's compositing. A composite means you take a bunch of different things and you stick them together. So this compositing means we're looking at things and it's kind of jumping out at us. It looks odd. It seems out of place. And the compositing is the improvement of things to kind of make them not so jump out of place and so ass. We're trying to improve the blend of it. We're trying to make it, situate better and make it feel like it's more a part of the whole picture. So we're organizing, right? We don't want things to be awkwardly jammed together and sticking out and jumping out at us in bad ways. We want to composite things nicely so they mix well. It's like music. Sometimes you hear it's one thing to listen to really good music. It's another thing to listen to a good DJ mix. That's what you're doing. You're DJing this painting a little bit. And I know people are going to for a while, the trend, and I fell into it too. Don't worry, we all did, where everyone's like, oh, speed painting. It's like, you know what? Does it have to be? It's a speed painting because like I don't think the speed is really a flex anymore. And especially because, all the fucking AI stuff is like, oh, look, we can push a button and we can shit out like 5 zillion versions of it. I think maybe the speed might have lost its charm just a little bit. I think a lot of times the speed was also appealing to the grind fest of the video games market, which got oversaturated, and they're all like, oh, we need to be faster, we need to be faster, we need to be faster. And I don't know, I'm kind of glad, I never worked in the video games industry for as an artist. I think it was a blessing in disguise that I didn't pursue it as hard as I could have. Because I tell you, man, it's like all I ever hear about the video games industry is like how much people get burned out. And believe me, I got like burned out when I was working in visual effects. So, I don't need to take another passion of my life and burn that out too. Yeah. Yeah, boy. Okay, I spent a long time on that little rock. But, I like that rock. What else I want? Like, there's one more thing I like about this that I want to put on this rock, and that is to just take a little bit of brown and just put some of that on the edge between, where the black and the... Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, that really pops out. I like that. Yeah, let's do more of that. Oh, smooth brain. Do it on everything. It's good. Ooh, too saturated. Too blue. Every time you see me looking like over there like that, when I do this, it means I'm looking at like OBS. I'm like checking. Uh-oh. That thing is, uh-oh. It's like, I need to make adjustments. Right? Because the thing about the Cintiq is, number one, the color representation on it is kind of eh. And then number two, it's like, well, it means I don't have to zoom out, right? You can zoom out, absolutely. But having an alternate monitor where you have like a smaller version of your painting work on there, like that's good to, ugh. Yeah, I'm just trying to say, you can get sucked into detail, but just don't stay sucked in for too long. You gotta come up for air once in a while. Wow. I come up for air quite a lot. Yeah. Looks pretty good. I do say so myself. In the words of my people, Oto Satan. Like, oh, I'm so dusty. Oh, I'm so good, right? It's like, Oto Satan. In fact, I could take this, right? So I've got the shape tool. If I use something like, let's say, here, I'm going to show you something, right? So if I put this thing in like multiply mode, it's like a color tint. So, oh, right. I'm I'm considering just flattening this whole freaking image. Yeah, because I got like 4 layers. And honestly, you know, I'm just going to flatten it. I'm going to regret it. But there. There we are. Oh, right. And, you know, the other problem is I've got like all these empty spots. So I got to take I got to take this tool here. We can grab some of that color in the background. Put it into behind mode and ooh, no, maybe I should use white. Okay, we'll use white. Okay, so that fills in the alpha channel because I had transparent spots, and multiply tool will not work properly when we have that. Okay, so let's lock the transparency on this thing, and okay, so that thing in multiply mode. Here we are. Right? It's like a color tint. Right? And if I use different colors, you can see how that applies. Right? It's like a piece of stained glass. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the silhouette of the rock as if it were reflected. Blink. Right? And then I'm just trying to put like a reflection on the there. Yeah, that works. Probably do the same for this area here. Yeah, that works. Okay. I still got to draw this rock here. I still have to render that thing a little bit better. That's pretty bright. Need that wetness to creep up the side of this thing. Still a little too bright. Get some of that brownness on the wet edge. It feels really blue. So if it feels too blue, I'm just gonna use the colorize mode. So colorize mode, if you see it, it's like, oh, you can like Ted Turner colorize that thing. Just switch it to like gray mode. And then I'm gonna hit a few areas with it. I'm speckling in a little bit of grayness. So I'm not outright just taking the whole thing and decolorize and like, you know, throwing colorization on it. Instead, I'm decolorizing little speckle bits. So that way there's still some of that blue, but I'm not like just overall, you know, smashing that color into oblivion. We can have a few oversaturated bits. That's all right. We're adding more color to that. And it looks good. Yeah, it's like from a distance, looks good from afar. Like these reflections are so easy. Easy mode. And then I can take some of that lighter color and I can go boop, 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 boop. Oh, now it looks, yeah, like, Wow. And then maybe even a little bit of that light color, I can beep, 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 beep. And now it starts to look like that's where the rock meets the water. Like a wet reflection edge. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, beep, beep. They're just rocks and water, but you can. There's so much to be done there. There's so much to do. Honestly, it's like I love working with transparent stuff. I love working with reflective stuff, water surfaces. Those things are like hard to paint, but I tell you, they're eye candy. They're eye candy. They're so. Ooh, I love this stuff. That stuff is freaking nice. Nice to see. It's nice to look at. Very pretty. So I can go in there with multiply mode. And I can go. Whoops. That was not in multiply mode. That's multiply mode. Okay, boom. All right, so I can throw in little two blue. But you see, if you like there we are, I can switch it back to black. I don't really want, I'm thinking actually maybe something that's more greenish. This is the thing about working with Colorize. Colorize is really cool in that you can really mess around with the color until and just, start dialing the wheel around until you find what you want. Yeah, we'll use that. Okay. Not put it into regular mode again. Go back to a regular brush for a bit. Yeah. Take that. There's like a brighter rock here, but somehow I feel like maybe we don't really need that rock. I don't feel like it's actually improving the composition. We can see ya. Bye rock. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that out. All right, make these little decisions on the fly. That's cool. And I can put it in multiply mode. Or maybe colorize mode. Yeah, I'll use colorize mode. So you can get those orange colored patches on the fish. Then I can switch to multiply mode. So cool. And then I can just go to regular mode and Yeah. No, leave me alone, autosave. I just want a smooth brain. I'm still working, and I just put some. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I gotta turn on my or turn off my brush pressure. That's better. Man, that's so cool. Although I know that the front part of the fish is a little less blunt, so or it's a little more blunt, I should say. But you can see how I'm going in there and I'm remedying that situation. I know I haven't painted a whole lot. I've like spent some of my time on like a bush and a few rocks, but they're really good bushes and they're really good rocks. And I just feel like, you know, if I this is the kind of painting that would probably take all day. I didn't plan on setting aside the whole day to work on this painting. Maybe I should really return to this later and we'll just, you know, go at it again. I'm running out of time, to be honest. All right, fine. No. We'll save it. I'll save it, and then we'll continue painting this on another video. All right, let's do that because I gotta work on my video game. I gotta fix up the mouse cursor positioning on that thing, and I said, man, I'm gonna get that done tomorrow, and it's today is tomorrow, so I gotta. Okay, yeah. All right, so let's computer, and recording.